So here's going to be my really first day working with Luxe. And you see he's got a pretty decent sized bubble. His go-to is to just run, which is something I noticed in the pen. Like I said before, he always made sure he was hidden. He always made sure he was behind a horse if we walked around. You know, sometimes it's a really good indicator when horses are in the pen and they kind of hold their ground or they walk up to you. Sometimes they walk up to you in the pen when you're on the outside. But he always made sure he was hidden. And his thing is he likes to, leave the vicinity, which is fine. But I'm working on a little bit of draw, trying to get him. I push a little bit with my body. And probably my biggest thing that I critique myself on when I watch my videos back, which is really always really good information, is that I tend to never release enough. So like that was a nice moment there, and I did finally back away and release the pressure. So like here, that was a nice moment, but I feel like I probably should have given him a little bit more release to help him a little bit more there. But that's probably about as far as he would let me come in for this first session. So I kind of let that be and came back and I brought in Fledge because I wanted to do a little bit of experiment seeing if having Fledge in there would help. So sometimes with them, they can be pretty reactive to a rider at first because, again, when they're moved around in the pens, if they do have a person on horseback and they're flagged a bit. So just getting him to calm down, and Fledge is a great energy and he's a really big help. So I'm just working through here with Luxe, just slowly moving Fledge around. And then working on kind of mirroring him a little bit. So getting him when he changes directions, we change directions. When he stops, we stop. Also, this is being filmed using my Pivo. So this is an experiment as well. So there are moments where you can't kind of see the other part of the round pen, but work in progress. And he's starting to come down a little bit. And then we're just working out, just hanging here. But you see he's still very upright, very on guard. But I'm just going to let Fledgy sit here for a minute. And then see if we just walk away, because that was nice. He stood still and looked at us. So it's too bad because my phone actually died, but after we did a bit more work, he actually paired up pretty well with Fledge. And then throughout the day, he stays in the big round pen, and then he has to go into the small round pen because we do in fact have another Mustang. So my working student is working her Mustang in the big round pen, and I'm in the small pen. So also something to note is I normally have a vest on, especially in the very beginning with the Mustangs. Unfortunately, my trailer has been in the shop, which had my vest in it. So if you're working a Mustang in the very beginning, I would certainly suggest having a protective vest on. I think it is a good thing. But I am experienced with Mustangs. And also something to note too is, working with them in a small space like this, you have to be quite careful. I'm working on a trick that I learned with Dorado and Eton, is that just flipping that rope, he's pretty good with the rope. And he felt a little bit more secure, interestingly enough, when I had it on. So I just had the tail, flipped it up, and then flipped it around his head, and I could put a little bit of pressure on his neck, and he would respond to that. And then he's also coming in and coming for touches. And what's nice is that the rope can just slip off if he gets too worried. But it's just a nice thing I can work with and play with a little pressure and release here. And I'm going to do a little follow around the pen, which again, this is handy for when we have to clean the pens to get him to realize it's okay. And you can see I was able to get the drag line off, or my lead rope. And so now I'm working on being able to touch his face and work on touching the halter, so then I can be able to adjust it and work on then leading to taking it off. I'm just letting him sniff, and then I make sure I am able to retreat. And we just hang out. We did a lot of hanging out. Again, my working student was working her Mustang in the larger pen, so we could just sit there and watch. And he was really funny. He always kept looking at my shoes, which I have black tennis shoes on, which I prefer tennis shoes versus boots, so I can do, I can be a little bit quicker of foot if needed. But he was very mindful of my black shoes, which I thought was pretty funny. But you see here, I'm able to start to fiddle with the halter, and then I was able to get the clip on. So another very valuable tool is this rope. This rope has worked a lot of Mustangs. It's probably a good 40-foot, 50-foot rope. And so once I had the clip on, we were just hanging out, and then he let me go and touch his eyes, which was a really nice moment. And that's where he kind of feels more confident. So we were able to then go into the larger round pen and see if we could work on some leading. And he actually has a nice release to the pressure on the halter already. Sometimes in the beginning they fight it and want to strike and run away, but you can see he gets a little insecure. His thing is that he wants to leave when he's insecure. What's nice is that, especially in the beginning with Mustangs, having that longer rope, so when he does want to leave, I can give the slack if needed, but then I always have the line, which is good. So he's more comfortable with me kind of being in this amount of space, and I'm working on building up his confidence in playing just the follow game, because he is a 3-year-old. So I want to kind of get that curiosity in learning to follow. You see he's starting to level his head out a little bit. We're working on passing the black box, and he said, "I'm not comfortable here." It's okay. We'll just go the other way. And I'm really liking the work that we're getting. So then again, I come back. And again, he says, "Oh, I'm not sure." But then he kind of stops and looks. So that's pretty nice. And now I can't get anywhere with inside this bubble. I can maybe get to where I can get a little bit of a touch on the nose, but this is pretty good progress, I would say, for our first day of really working. And I'm pretty happy with how he's leading. Nicely and soft. You see I have a nice loop in the rope. And also working on getting him to see me on both sides, and then a little bit of draw. I'll get a nice lick and chew there. And then he comes in. So you see when he came in like that, he postured up, neck goes up, kind of bows up when he's not sure, and he's kind of coming in. So when you take flight away, and then you can get freeze, and then you can get to where they come in. So when they do that, I want to shape that behavior. It's not necessarily a bad thing. I like it when they do that. But I'm going to have my hand out so I can block if they were to come forward. So you see here I'm working on just a little bit of a send to where I direct, and I want to see if I can get him to walk around me. And he's a little not sure because he said, hey, we were doing the following game. But a lot of the work is shaping kind of what they give you in the beginning and using that to your advantage. So getting some good work. You can see he actually headed towards the black bin, and it's always so interesting to me how every single Mustang is different. So each Mustang I've worked with has given me different tools to work with, and it's always interesting to see how different and how similar. There are similarities, but they are very much their own unique being per horse. So he's really starting to get the sending. And yeah, see, that was super good to see him want to touch that box. That made me really pretty excited. And so then we went back to the follow me game. Going back into, this is actually a really nice moment here where he scratched his leg, so he's starting to feel a little bit more comfortable. And again, this session has been filmed with my Pivo, so this has been a really interesting experiment. I think it's done a decent job. And now to kind of finish up, I had him come in and come for a touch, and I thought that was really good. He was really super.